You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and we officially, as it is the middle of September, we're in the spooky season. We're in haunt season right now. And lo and behold, I've actually been to my first haunt of the Halloween season, but I wasn't the only one there, fortunately. And I've got a great guest on this week. We're going to talk a little bit about haunts. We're going to talk about dark rides. We're going to talk about coasters. If you don't know where I'm going with this, if you're not familiar with TikTok, we've got Mr. Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides himself, Michael Dutterer. Michael, welcome to the Coaster 101 podcast.
Hey, good evening, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. This is, I think you and I, we crossed paths a number of times. We ran into each other recently at the Golden Ticket Awards, and it was like a love fest immediately. It was like, I love your stuff. You were like, I love your stuff. And I was like, we should do this together at some point. And here we are like 3 weeks later. We're going to talk again, some coasters, some haunts, and maybe if there's time, we're going to get a little dark ride talk in there. Sound good to you?
Oh, it sounds like right up my alley, buddy.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit, I want to talk to you or talk about you and your Coasters Haunts and Dark Rides channel on TikTok, which has got 20,000 followers. I'm extremely jealous. But talk to us. Like, how did you get your start on TikTok?
So I've been a fan of amusement parks my entire life, as long as I can remember. And anytime I went to the park, just like most of us enthusiasts, I had my camera or my phone in my hand and I was taking pictures, videos, everything. To the point, where my wife constantly asked, don't we already have that? Don't we already have pictures of this? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm still going to do it. So I had so much stuff and I just loved it. Was for my own personal use, just brought it home and, stored it. And my kids, who were teenagers at this point, were all into TikTok, and I didn't really get it at first, but then I started watching some of the stuff that they would share with me, and I was like, I have a really small attention span, so TikTok was like perfect for me. So 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, I decided at the point it was just going to be haunt season. It was just, in fact, my name at the time wasn't even Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides. It was SCarowinds Fan for the first couple months. And I just went to SCarowinds and I decided I'm going to try it. So I started a TikTok account. I documented pretty much every visit that I made to SCarowinds. And when the season was over, I was like, dang, this is fun. So I kind of rebranded and turned it into everything amusement parks and just kept doing it and still doing it today and love every freaking second of it.
I love that. It is your content to me, and it's like I'm kind of like you. I've got a very short attention span. The longer form video stuff, and there's a lot of people who do that. I'm not knocking them. It's not for me. It is just like I don't have 37 minutes plus ads to sit down and watch you walk around an amusement park. Yeah. So your kind of short snippets, your enthusiasm, your positivity, it's all I personally love it. So I need to give you your flowers there. But Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides, again, we're going to continue to talk about, hammer these things down. That starts with coasters, but your vlogging and TikToking is not your only kind of foray into the coaster world. You're also the ACE Southeast representative. How long have you been doing that?
Well, so I've been in ACE, and for anyone who doesn't know ACE, American Coaster Enthusiasts, we're about 7,000 members countrywide, worldwide, actually. But we're just a group of, coaster enthusiasts that love to get together and ride rides. And I've been in ACE for 15 years, and I've been the ACE Southeast Assistant Regional Rep now for just over a year. I just love being a part of the coaster community. There is something just really fun about going to an amusement park and hanging out with people that just like the same things, catching a ride together, walking around the park, all things about amusement parks that just drive us back, that I'm just addicted to. It's fun to do that with people that share that same passion and talk about that. And that's what I found in ACE. And Had an opportunity a little over a year ago to volunteer and give back to the club, and I couldn't be happier. And we've really started to do some great things in this region, and I'm excited about not only what Ace brings, but also Ace Southeast. Just bringing a lot of that stuff to our community.
Yeah, and you guys you did some pretty exciting events. It's the first of, and I am a card carrying Ace member. I don't show up to as many events as I probably should, but I have the card. I'm there. I get the discounts on Enterprise Rent a Car and all that good stuff. And we were actually at the Spring Con, Ace Spring Con up in Virginia earlier this year. So
Nice.
I I I again huge fan of what Ace does. You guys did some cool events though. I think it was the first year in a long time that I can remember Ace doing an event at Family Kingdom Amusement Park at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, that was awesome. One of the things when I came in, what we wanted to do, we had always done, our region is kind of the Carolinas, Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi. We always did events at our real big parks. Carowinds, we pretty much always had an annual event. We have Dollywood, Six Flags Over Georgia from time to time, but we have some really great small parks in our region too,
Mhm.
and that's what we really wanted to kind of emphasize a little bit. And to get into Family Kingdom and do an event there, we had an absolute blast. So this was year number one that we were in that park. We had an hour of ERT. So for anyone not familiar with the club, exclusive ride time before the park opens to the public. We get a chance to get in and ride rides, and we had a chance to ride Swamp Fox, which in my opinion is just an incredible wooden coaster. And it's a great event. And next year, plug for next year, we are doing the 60th anniversary of Swamp Fox, and we're doing a big event at the park. Already planned for June 13th, I believe. We are so excited to be in the Family Kingdom.
I gotta get down there for that one. That's Swamp Fox is a really good time. I haven't been to that park. Ooh, it's definitely before the recent ownership change that won the
Yeah,
Renaissance Award of the Golden Tickets. But I got to get back down there. I know there's at least one coaster that's the Dragon Wagon that adults are allowed to ride,
correct.
that I need to get on. So
Wow.
June 13th, we're going to be in contact about that one.
Sounds good. And the work they've done on Swamp Fox is incredible. That thing is riding like a freaking dream. It's just amazing. So, highly recommend getting back to the park.
I love it, and I know we're here to talk about haunts, but I'm going to give you your platform right now. What else does Ace Southeast have kicking the rest of this year?
Oh, we've got our big Dollywood event. I love Dollywood. Dollywood, we do a Christmas event every year because it's one of our, back in the day, it was one of our only parks in the area that did a Christmas event. So we do an event there, Smoky Mountain Christmas, November 15th this year. Just a full day of ride time. The thing about Dollywood, I love coasters. You're right, it's in my name, but I love amusement parks. Like Dollywood has it all: shows, rides, atmosphere, everything you could want out of an amusement park. So we're there November 15th. And then every year, Ace does a big week long event. And next year is CoasterCon 48, which is in Six Flags, New England. Lake Compounce and Six Flags Great Escape, and that's it's always in the middle of June every year, and just an incredible experience to spend a week hanging out with coaster junkies, riding rides in different parks. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. I'm gonna pitch an idea to you. You're gonna tell me no, but I'm gonna pitch an idea real quick.
All right, sounds good.
So the Frankie's Fun Park, the trifecta of SBF spinners they've opened. You got to do a rally from Raleigh to Columbia to Greenville or wherever.
Greenville.
We got to do a rally in one day. You got to hit all three in a day. We can make.
I wow. I don't normally say no, Andrew. So I think it sounds fun.
All right, Ace Southeast people, I apologize for what I have done to you, but there's some really great stops along the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did all three of them in the last couple months, so I think we could fit that into one day.
I
That's
I think it might be you, me, and then Andrew Wirtanen from Park Rovers. I think we might be the only three who have
hey,
the trifecta right now.
that sounds like a pretty good time to me.
I'll take it. I love it. Okay, as I mentioned at the top of the show, though, spooky season, Halloween. Again, your origins as SCarowinds fan on TikTok. We're in the Halloween season. You've been to like multiple haunts by this point, and we're recording literally in the middle of September. Where have you been so far, except for Scarowinds? Because we've both been to Scarowinds, but where have you
Yeah.
been in addition to Scarowinds so far?
So a couple weeks ago was at Woods of Terror in Greensboro, North Carolina. Had a preview event to kick off the season up there, a little bit behind the scenes magic, seeing how everything works and getting a chance to kind of explore the haunt before it opened for the season, which it did this past Saturday. Woods of Terror is an incredible haunt. If you've never been, it's an absolute must check out for any Halloween fan. What they've done up there is just amazing. It's a about an hour, 15-minute walkthrough from start to finish, and the stuff they do is incredible. And if you're only familiar with something like Scarewinds, trying out a local haunt is a totally different experience. And had the opportunity actually this past Saturday to also go in Hickory, North Carolina, to Lake Hickory haunts, which is probably my favorite haunt out there at all. And again, had an amazing time. The thing that I love about haunts, and you see it a lot in these local haunts and where you go around, it's just the people that work them just love what they do so much, and you can see it. And we got a full taste of that at Lake Hickory this past weekend.
Perfect. We will link to both of those in the show notes. But we got to talk Scarowinds. You and I, we are both Charlotte Metro locals. We're on different sides of the city. I don't want to dox either of us, but
Yeah,
um, you know, Scarowinds to me, I've been going for about 10 years. Your history is a little bit different. You, I believe I've heard through the grapevine, you were a scare actor at one point.
that's right. So I've been going. We moved to the Carolinas. It's been 18 years now. So I've been going to Scarowinds for 18 years. I've been every year that we've lived here in the Carolinas. And as much as I love amusement parks, Halloween is by far my favorite time of the year. And haunts and Halloween in amusement parks has always been my favorite. So every time Scarowinds came around, it was multiple visits. Every weekend headed over to the park. I think my number one bucket list item for a long time was working in a theme park, getting behind the scenes, seeing how theme parks work. I absolutely want to do it. And then couple that with I wanted to work in a haunted house. So, how can you get better than working in a haunted house at an amusement park? So, in 2017, I decided to go for it, and I work a full time job in customer service. I'm an 8 to 5 kind of employee Monday through Friday, and the Scarewinds hours, working Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, worked out perfect with my schedule. So I said, one year, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, knock it off my bucket list, and I fell absolutely in love with everything about it. Had just an incredible year, and ended up going back 2 more times, and ended up working at Scarowinds for 3 different years. So I was there in 2017, 2018. I took off 2019. We all took off in 2020 because of COVID. And then I wasn't planning on going back, but in 2021 there was a real need trying to rebound from the COVID year, so I went back for one last hurrah.
I love it. And where did you, were you at the same maze or did you move around?
Yeah,
What was your role?
yeah. So I was at the same maze all 3 years, same role all 3 years as well. I started off at the first year Depths of Darkness opened. So in 2017, the new maze was DoD Depths of Darkness, and I was the basically the man outside who told the story. I was a police officer that kind of gave you the backstory of what was happening at DoD, and then I took you into the house and helped kick it off in the first room or two within the house. And I did that all 3 years that I worked at Scarowinds.
Were you, did you, were you in makeup or were you kind of still mostly mostly costume?
Yeah, so it was a mixture of both. I had the first year I was only costume. I was just a police officer. They wanted me to be kind of like looking like a straight, police officer, like real police officer. In year two and year three, I started getting more makeup. By year three, they decided to just go all out. And year three, because the story was that I captured the state line slasher, which, if you're not familiar with Depths of Darkness, it was a maze where you went into the mind of a serial killer, and I was the officer that supposedly captured him and put him inside of the house. So, they would start, scraping me up and bloodying me up like we really had a large confrontation before he was actually captured.
Yes, I got it. I my favorite piece of lore about that maze is pre-COVID. There used to be kind of a news broadcast that aired on the QTVs, and
Hmm.
it was our buddy Chris Foshi, past podcast guest, your friend and my friend. He
Yep.
played the fictional Chris Davis, who, again, you're a big Baltimore Orioles fan. Chris Davis played for the Orioles for a number of years.
Yep.
But and then Chris's wife was actually the woman that the state line slasher murdered. Like he put that whole video together. So fun fact, little behind the scenes curtain there. Um, but as Depths of Darkness has kind of it has made way for new mazes. We are in the 25th iteration of SCarowinds, celebrating their. I'm forgetting the word if it's 25th anniversary or 25th season. Math is hard for me sometimes, so it is. There's a 25 involved somehow, and SCarowinds they have, I believe, 7 total new experiences between shows and scare zones and mazes, and of course the Conjuring. Conjuring Beyond Fear, this new Screaming attraction that we will definitely dive into here
Yeah.
shortly. But you and I, we had the opportunity to attend a preview last week. Was for ACE members, members of the media. What were your initial thoughts and reactions? Again, as someone who has been going to this event for 18 of the 25 years, what were your thoughts on the Scarowinds 25?
So I'm going to preface the rest of this conversation with I'm a fan. I'm a fan first. I have been a fan. I do the TikTok because I'm a fan. I love the parks. I love the event. So I'm a fanboy. There's no way around it. I defend the parks because I love them. I love everything about it. I do love Scarewinds, and working at Scarewinds, I got a completely different appreciation for everything that goes into running the haunt. What you put up with as a scare actor, like, it is not an easy job. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's not easy. Especially early in the season, it's hot. You're working your tail off. You're dealing sometimes with challenging guests, right? That are acting a little unruly or difficult.
It's a
So
great way to put that.
yeah, it's a it's a so it's a challenging job, and I have a real, I think I had an appreciation for what they did before, but after working in the role and working with people, like, I truly appreciate what I see, and I think it's a labor of love that a lot of those actors put in, and I appreciate that. So I'm a fan of Scarewinds. I love Scarewinds. I will say the last 2 years did start to feel a little stale. We had a couple years where we had nothing significantly new. We had a new show last year. We had a different scare zone, slightly different scare zone maybe last year, but we didn't really have any new houses the last couple years. So it did feel, even though I still enjoyed it, I still liked going. It was nice to be there. It needed something, and I think we got it. Like, from the moment we walked into the park this year, Scarowinds felt different. Um, the decorations around the park are just like, they're everywhere. It
Mhm.
feels, the decor is just everywhere you turn. But the amount of different things, from decorations to theming to, you already talked about a few of the mazes that we're gonna jump into. It just felt great. I think it was really what Scarowinds needed, and coupled with a few other changes they made this year, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. I really think they needed it, and I had an incredible time. I was there with you at the preview, and then I went back on opening night on Friday as well. And just both times, I was very impressed with what I saw.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think I we wrote a review, which shameless plug, Coaster101.com. The article is called "SCarowinds Takes a Major Step Forward," and that is what they did those last couple of years. And as someone who has gone again the last 10 years, wrote a review, 8 of those, 7 of those 10 years, 8 of those 10 years, whatever the number is. It's all on the website. Go read it. Nobody reads on the internet anymore, but it was like I went to a preview event last year, and it was like, well, what do I write about, and how do I make this different than the previous iterations? And we had the Tooth Theory, I think, was 2 years old at that point, and we
Yeah,
had Paranormal Inc. was, I think, in its third year, but last year the pre-show wasn't necessarily working. I think what I appreciated the most, and the mazes that I went through in the preview, every maze had some sort of improvement or touches made to it. And I
yeah,
think there was a lot of attention paid. Unfortunately, I didn't go through Slaughterhouse, but we were listening to, Ryan Allen, who was the director of live entertainment at SCarowinds. I don't like saying was. Ryan, if you listen to this, come back. We miss you.
I
Um,
know.
but he was saying how Slaughterhouse wasn't touched, but, Silver Scream Studios, that received an overhaul. Depths of Darkness is gone. It's now Defects 2.0, which is a great fan service maze for the 25th anniversary. Tooth Theory received some upgrades.
Hmm.
Paranormal Inc. received some upgrades. We have, like I said, we've got the new Scare Zone glitch. We've got the other new Scare Zone, which is the circus theme. That's like the Cleaver Brothers sideshow of sinister sideshow of alliteration. Like,
Right,
like, like there was a lot that went into Scarowinds this year, and I think as someone who, again, like you, it might have felt a little stale the last couple of years, and that is what it is. I don't fault the park for that. I don't fault the team behind it, because I know those scare actors and the live entertainment team are, again, busting their rear ends to make this event successful year after year.
for sure.
So, what walking through, you enter through a kind of a scare zone that's not really a scare zone, that's reminiscent
Well,
of the
yeah, well, let's start right there
yeah, go
because
with it.
that is, I mean, that is the first thing that caught me. Like we knew there was four scare zones, right? And when you
Yes.
first walk into the park, it's kind of like the old Mass Acres, the
Yeah.
old graveyard. Not a scare zone, right? It's not on the map, it's not listed, but it sure feels theming wise as a scare zone. As soon as you walk down that main path, there's decorations everywhere for that area. But then when you come back later in the night, there's a couple scare actors that are working in that area too. So
Mhm.
that's like right from the get go, I'm like, okay, this feels different. Like this feels back like in the years where we had people roaming around the park, and wherever you went, you could maybe run into a scare actor, not just in the, one or two here and one or two there. Like that felt great from the very get go walking into the park.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And the scary undead ghost leering at you. I mean, they weren't. I did feel like there was a lot of interaction with the scare actors on the preview night, which I don't feel like I've had in the previous. Like they were willing to come up to you. They were willing to have a conversation. They were improving a little bit. Like I think there was a special focus. Maybe not. I don't know. It
Yeah.
felt like there was more of a focus on guest interaction this year. Did you kind of feel that either Thursday or Friday when you went?
Both, definitely. I have been to a few preview events, and I do think with the preview event there is lower crowds, so there is more opportunity to interact. But on Friday, which in all fairness, Friday was not a very busy night. It was busier obviously than the preview night, but Friday in early September usually is a little bit of a smaller crowd. But I got the same feeling on Friday night. There was a ton of interaction with the scare actors. They were constantly coming up to folks and interacting with them, doing little skits, having back and forth. I got that. I was there all night Friday night, and every scare zone I went into, I saw that. So there's no doubt in my mind that to to feel that, that means there was focus on that. And that starts with the way they train their scare actors from the very beginning. And I definitely think they made that a priority this year.
Yeah. Is it true that scare school is a thing? Like if you're going to be a scare
Oh,
actor, you have to go through scare school?
yep, it's an entire there's a couple pieces when you become a scare actor, but there is one night of it's about 4 hour long training. that you go through, and it's pretty intense. You do a lot of improv. You do a lot. When I did it back the first couple years, we would do 3 hours in a classroom with a very skilled trainer, kind of giving us tips, tricks. But we would get up in front of the group and practice out scares. You would learn all the different kinds of scares that there are, and then the last hour we would go into Slaughterhouse and get to put everything we kind of learned into action and try to scare the trainers that taught us all these tips and tricks on how to scare people.
I love it. Let's talk. Let's talk. We're going to talk scare zones first. We'll get into the mazes, and then we'll get into
Yeah,
the Conjuring, which is, like I said, it's its own discussion. I feel like,
for
but
sure.
the two new scare zones, as I mentioned, there's Glitch, which is right over there by Thunderstriker and Harmony Hall, and that new kind of event space where Viva La Fiesta was. There was the circus, the Cleaver Brothers sideshow. Again, a lot of words. That was over in County Fair, or no, Carolina. That was in
Boardwalk.
Boardwalk, and
Yeah,
then the Hollow was kind of over there in Blue Ridge
Blue
Junction,
Ridge.
and then remind me of the
Har-
last.
Harvest Fear
That's
is
it.
in County Fair.
Yes. So they're all right there. Like if you're walking on that back stretch of park, you go from scare zone to scare zone to scare zone to scare zone. And then if you keep going, there's another one of those mythical scare zones that's not really a scare zone where all the sliders were hanging out, which I personally love those guys. They're my
Yeah.
favorite.
Well, they're down. So yeah, they're down in the Thrill Zone, which is down by Fury and Hurler, back where Bloodyard was. And
Hmm.
honestly, the last 2 years of Bloodyard, the sliders were my favorite part of Bloodyard to begin with. And that includes that my son worked in Bloodyard last year, but still the sliders were my favorite part.
So it's a family affair for you at this point.
It is. He did. Yeah, he did 3 years. He did the three after I retired. My son did 3 years at SCarowinds. He was a scare actor. The first year they had the Hollow,
Hmm.
which that year it was over by the theater, and then he was a scare actor in Ripper's Alley. Rest in peace, Ripper's Alley, gone this year, and then Bloodyard. The final year, and this year he's also now retired from SCarowinds.
Man, you gotta like have another kid, like go into the lineage now.
my, my daughter, we were trying to convince her, but she's not quite there yet. So
She'll get there. What were your thoughts on the scare zones? Did you have a favorite?
yeah, so I really enjoyed the scare zones. I like the way they're lined up. I think I was a little nervous about the three scare zones as you mentioned, back to back to back. I was a little worried that while that area would feel very populated, the rest of the park might not. But honestly, I didn't feel that way at all because the sliders were down there in Thrill Zone. I, we had last year, we had the kind of clowns. We had that back in Lobotomy's Oddities, which was back in Aeronautica Landing. But I definitely think this year they wanted to make Aeronautica Landing only about the Conjuring. So it
Yes.
totally made sense why they pulled that out. So I really like the three scare zones back to back to back. And Glitch kind of off to the side because it's
Hmm.
up there in front of Thunderstriker. I love that new area of the park.
Hmm.
Like I love that they kind of covered over that lawn that had been out in front of Thunderstriker. It gives you so much space to work with for events and other things. Um, I didn't really get a chance to see the new show that is
Hmm.
in the glitch area. I'll have to catch that later in the season. But the glitch area and that really seemed to work. I think with any new area, they need some time to kind of fine tune and work it out and figure out what works in the space they're at. But I really enjoyed the costuming and the kind of look and feel of glitch.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
It's a little different. Like it's different than Bloodyard. It's kind of a similar vibe. It's just different characters than zombie vampires. I feel like.
it is, and frankly, like change can be scary. Bloodyard was a part. It's kind of that double edged sword, right? Like anytime you hear comments, you're like, oh, nothing changed at Scarewoods, nothing changed at Scarewoods. Then they say, okay, we're getting rid of Bloodyard and we're going to Glitch. You're like, no, 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 don't get rid of Bloodyard. Well, you can't have it both ways, right? Like
Right.
I think it does have that Bloodyard feel to it. I do think it was time for something to happen with Bloodyard. I would not be shocked, Andrew, if in 2 years we saw Blood Yard come back. Kind of like, Slaughterhouse went away
Hmm.
for a year or two and came back. We now have Defects that came back. I could definitely, it feels like a staple of Scarowinds, and I could definitely see it coming back. But I think it was time for something a little bit different. And I think we got that from Glitch.
Yeah.
Um, Cleaver Brothers is, I mean, as long as I can remember, they've had a scare zone something similar. Like we said, it was Lobotomy's Oddities last year. It was a different clown area the year before. It just you can't have a haunt without some kind of scary clown area, so it works. But Harvest Fear, by far, is my favorite scare zone in the park. Um, we didn't talk about this yet, but you can definitely feel in Harvest Fear the amount of actors that they had working on Thursday and Friday night, and I'm assuming will for the rest of the season, um, was incredible.
Yes.
Like it really felt good walking through those scare zones, and we'll talk about in the houses too. The houses were packed of,
Oh my
of scare
gosh.
actors. So when you get to Harvest Fear, first of all, the chainsaws are back in Harvest Fear, which is just a blast. But that area, which was kind of new last year and got its like legs underneath of it, just was really good this year. It's in a perfect area. The
Hmm.
way it kind of curves around County Fair back there, it has some really good spots for the actors to hang out in, and uh, I just thought the actors in that area were absolutely killing it this weekend. I could spend all night kind of hanging out back there with them.
Yeah. I got to give a quick shout out. We didn't really touch on the Hollow. I don't know if you had the opportunity to interact with Lucky Lavelle. Lucky Lavelle is like this snake oil salesman type Southern, super sassy, super, you know, you just these Southern draw like, darling, what are you doing? Like he was fantastic. Like we've got
Yeah.
a like 2 minute just he and I had a conversation with like 2 minutes, and he did not miss a beat, and it was I think that's one of my favorite scare actor. So
I, I,
if this gets to the Scarowinds people, Lucky Lavelle, hire that guy again because he was fantastic.
Well, the character who plays Lucky has been in many different spots at Carowinds. Actually, you would have. I don't want to give any secrets behind the magic away, but if you saw him, you saw him throughout the year playing a number of different characters. He was at Winterfest as a character. He was a big part of Lobotomy's Oddities last year. Fantastic. I couldn't agree more. The Hollow is interesting, and I think I need a little bit more time in the Hollow. We had 2 years of the Hollow, then it went away last year, and
Hmm.
it came back this year. I like it way better where it is back in Blue Ridge than when it
Yes.
was out in front of the theater.
Hmm.
It got just too congested as
Right.
you walked around the theater, so I like it back there and spread out. I haven't had a lot of time yet to hang out in that area. I will later in the season, but I did like what they did with the Hollow. It looks great. The
Yeah.
the theming of the area is about perfect.
Yeah. You mentioned coming back later in the season, so I've got to ask the burning question on everybody's minds. It's a new thing for the Legacy Cedar Fair, now Six Flags parks, to have a haunted attractions pass.
Yeah,
I I personally, I mean, I'm a party of one typically when I go to a theme park. So to me, 10, 15, $20, whatever it is, because it's me, I would probably pop for the express pass because I don't like waiting in lines to begin with. But like what are your general thoughts on the haunted attractions pass? I feel like to me, I'm okay with it. I don't have an issue, but
yeah.
what are your thoughts?
So I totally get why it's been so divisive across the theme park world. I grew up at a Six Flags park. I grew up in Maryland. My home parks at the time were Wild World, Adventure World. Then it became Six Flags America, and is now going away at the end of this year. But that was my home park when I was a kid. So I grew up at a park where you paid for the attractions. That's the
Mhm.
way it was. So when I moved to Carowinds and found out that it was included in my pass, I was actually kind of shocked. Um, and so I understand why people, especially people who have lived here for years and that's always been a part of it. I understand why they feel the way they do. I look at it from a little different angle. I am a I work in corporate America during the day. I understand finances and how things work. Uh, this is what I know is I know that my season pass to Carowinds this year was cheaper than it was last year. I have a prestige pass. The price went down. I don't know about you, but I don't know anything else in my life where the price went down. In the last couple years, everything just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah.
If you look at the gold pass, if you look at the gold pass, like the price that you paid this year for the gold pass, it's about the same price we paid 9, 10 years ago for a gold pass.
Yes.
If you buy a 1 day admission with parking, that's the same as the gold pass. Well, here's what I know about, finances and companies and business, right? Like you can't make it by not raising prices or finding revenue streams that work. So I love that they've kept the price of the season pass to a point where families can go. You can go during the summer. If you just go a couple days, it's more than worth it. And I love that they're putting a focus on that. And this year for 2026 season passes, they included every other Six Flags
Yep.
park for no additional fee. I paid $100 to include that perk last year. This year, not I didn't pay anything for it. So if you're going to keep the price of the pass either the same or even cheaper than it was before, you're going to have to pick up revenue somewhere else. And I like the option. Like there are some people that don't care about the haunted houses, right?
Right.
They don't care. So I like that if you don't want to pay for that option, that it's not just built into your cost. I'm going to be honest with you. I would be completely fine if they took the water park out of my pass because I never go to the water park, right? Like, I don't need the water park to be part of my pass. I would rather keep my pass cheaper and have, that be an upcharge. Again, I know I'm in the minority here. I know there's people that are very upset, and I appreciate everyone's opinion. I would just rather keep the regular passes cheap to get as many people in there as possible and then have the option for upcharges like this.
Yeah.
The thing for me, I am a regular attendee of SCarowinds, right? I'm going to be there a dozen times throughout the course of the season. So they offered a pass that you could get the haunts. You get your haunt pass every night, get express pass every night, and every night one conjuring visit as well. And all of that, it was I think $70 when it went on sale. I think it's 90 now.
Yeah.
But for me, that that all coupled up with the fact that it includes express, it would have cost me that much just to get express one night last year at
Exactly.
Scarowinds. So for me, I think it was perfectly fine. I like that we have options, but I also appreciate the people that are really bothered by it. I understand that it was an impact, but if you really look at the total cost of everything, I think it does. It's the equivalent of them just raising the price of the overall pass every year. You probably would have ended up paying more than you are by just paying for the haunt pass now.
Right. And it's like you said earlier, people want one thing, but they want to keep something else. And those two things don't necessarily jive all the time. So I'm with you. I really think it is a minority maybe who is they're really upset and they're like, I'm not going to renew my pass. It's like, okay, cool. If you don't come
Yeah.
back, that's one less person I have to wait in line to ride Copperhead Strike behind. So
Well,
thank you. That's just the way I look at it. But
well,
you know,
Andrew, I'll tell you. I mean, right now, like the conversation we've already had and we're continuing to have about the park,
yeah,
that plays a huge part in it for me. If I would have paid that price and walked in and it would have been the same as last year and the
exactly.
year before, I may have felt different. But I really felt like the investment was there. The amount of money that they put into the park, I can feel it. And that
Hmm.
makes it a lot easier for me to open up my wallet and pay for the haunt pass.
100%. Well, the Haunt Pass does get you into the five. What a segue. The Haunt Pass does get you into five of Scarowinds mazes. This year, we've got Defects 2.0 and the former Depths of Darkness over there in Camp Snoopy, which was actually Defects 1.0 before it was Depths of Darkness. Big timeline switch there. You've got Slaughterhouse, the final cut. You've got Silver Scream Studios, the 25th anniversary director's cut, I believe is that one, Tooth Fairy, and then Paranormal Inc. So again, several of these mazes are returning this year. Defects is a new twist on an old favorite. Silver Scream is a new twist on an old favorite. The others are kind of returning from previous years. I want to talk a little bit about the scare actors in these mazes because at least Thursday night, and correct me if you feel differently, Michael, like the number of actors in the mazes, I've never seen anything like that before
Yeah.
in 10 years of going to SCarowinds.
So when I started working at SCarowinds, there was this theory that the kind of managers were they because not everybody wanted to wait for haunted houses. They really wanted to build up the scare zone. So, starting about 8 or 9 years ago, they took a little emphasis out of the houses and put them more in the scare zones. That they thought that would have kind of hit a larger crowd, right? Because everyone's going to walk through the park. Not everyone is going to wait, for a house. And I felt the tide change a little bit last year. There really was an effort last year to start putting more people into the houses, and I really felt it. Like I did see it start to turn around. There were no, like we talked about, no significant changes to the houses, but it did feel a little bit different inside of them. They definitely had more staffing and going on, but not what we saw on Thursday. And I saw it again on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I saw more on Friday night than on Thursday night. And this is the part that's incredible. If you think back about all the times you've gone to SCarowinds, the first weekend, 2 weekends, they're always a little bit short staffed because they're still hiring, they're
Right.
still training. Like to have that many actors in each of the houses on the opening night was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we saw it on Thursday night. They were doing a really great job too.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. I wanted to get your thoughts though. What was your you had two mazes or two you had two nights and you got to all the mazes. I did not get to Slaughterhouse or Tooth Fairy during the preview night because I was in line for the Conjuring. There was a I think
Yeah,
it might have gone down for a little bit, no big deal, worth the wait. So I've experienced three of the mazes. Defects 2.0, Silver Scream, and then Paranormal Inc. I
yeah,
The first thing I want to talk about is Paranormal Inc. Last year, the pre-show, there's like a I don't want to spoil too much here, but
yeah.
there is a there's a scene at the very beginning of the maze where you're all gathered in a room. There's a scare actor kind of spieling at you, telling the story of the Paranormal Inc. investigators. Really, really cool scare moment in this pre-show that kind of kicks off the rest of the maze. Last year, to my knowledge, was not working.
It did. It was on and off last year. They had a
Okay.
lot of technical difficulties last year. I will say that, it was probably about 50-50 last year. A lot of times it was not working,
Hmm.
but they did have it up, but it wasn't the kind of front scene with the TV and that was down sometimes as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I'm talking.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so they definitely the whole thing they definitely made sure they restored it to opening year, right? They
Yes. Which.
brought it back and it looked great.
Yep.
You know, Paranormal Inc. is a fantastic, like visually stunning maze.
Hmm.
It is designed very well. I'll be honest, it's not one of my favorites, and it's not one of my favorites only because I prefer the interaction with the scare actors,
Right.
and you don't really get that in Paranormal because it's so loud. And even though they did lighten it up a little bit this year, that was one of the changes you were talking about. They added a little bit of lights so you could see some of the great scenery that's in
Yeah.
that house. Um, but it's still just so dark and so loud that there isn't a lot. And most of the characters are in like full costumes in
Hmm.
that maze, so there isn't a ton of interaction. Even though I think it is a fantastic maze, it looks great,
Yes.
and it's you know before. Of course, you're right. Conjuring's a completely different animal, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at the end. But
Hmm.
that one is one that feels like you would find more, like almost Horror Nights type level, the way it looks with the scenery and the costuming inside of it.
Yeah. And I think there's been definitely a shift, at least in recent years. I feel like back in 2013, no, 2015 when Slaughterhouse came back. To me, that set a bar for me. It's like, wow, this is what a haunt maze is. This is the first haunt I ever walked through. So this is the bar.
Yeah.
Then in 2017, Depths of Darkness took that bar, raised it a little bit more. And then Paranormal, which I believe was 21, 22, thereabouts, post COVID.
Yes.
Um, uh, that took the bar and raised it further. So I think there's been a trend in recent years of SCarowinds continuing to kind of raise that bar, take a maze that was, not as scary, as detailed or as exciting, kind of relied on the cheap gags, the dropping windows, things
Yeah.
like that. But these are, fully built out. And if you walk through them in the daytime, there's some amazing detail that like 98% of guests will never see, which
Yeah.
is
So again, shameless plug for ACE, American Coaster Enthusiasts, our group. Every time we have an event, we get behind the stage tours of coasters, haunted houses, different pieces of the amusement park. And I think every time we've been at Carowinds, we've had some kind of tour of one of their haunts. And we
Mhm.
got the chance at CoasterCon a couple years ago, we got the chance to walk through Paranormal and see it with the lights on, and the detail inside, you're right, is absolutely incredible.
It's fantastic. Well, you mentioned paranormal was not one of your favorites, and nothing against paranormal.
No, I like it.
What is let's go with your favorites then. What were you most impressed by this year?
So, I think it's a little too early in the season to really determine my favorites all said, but last year my favorite house was Tooth Fairy. And I'll tell you, my walkthroughs on Thursday and Friday night, I'd be shocked if at the end of the year it's not very similar. I love Tooth Fairy. I think it's fun, but what I really like about Tooth Fairy is again what I said, uh, about paranormal is about the interactions. In Tooth Fairy, you get a lot of interactions with the characters. A
Mhm.
lot of the rooms are kind of open, and they can have back and forth with you. And what I really like about it, and again, I'm not downplaying paranormal at all. I love
No.
paranormal. It's just every time I go through Tooth Fairy, it feels different. I get a different kind of shtick with one of the characters, or something different happens, or the characters are in a little bit different area interacting differently. One of the things this year, again, they did change some stuff in Tooth Fairy. The first couple rooms are completely different. The middle of the maze is very similar with some slight changes. You'll see that as you walk through. And then the last room had a little bit of a change to it as well. But there are new costumes and new masks in that maze that are incredible. There's a couple really, really like high detail, very nice masks that I haven't seen at Scarowinds, in the 18 years I've been going.
Oh wow. Well, now I'm kind of kicking myself for not going on Thursday, mainly because I forgot you could get to Tooth Fairy the back way, like by Windseeker, and I was like, that path doesn't exist anymore. How does this happen?
Yeah.
Classic me. I you mentioned the interaction. I think I was getting a lot of that, and it may be because it was late in the preview on Thursday. I was the basically the only one inside of Silver Scream when I walked through it. So again, dozens of scare actors, and I've been through Silver Scream at a preview a year or two ago. There might have been two actors in the entire maze.
Yeah.
Like there were actors everywhere, and they were
Yeah.
giving it to me, and they were I was giving it back a little bit, not really like verbally abusive, but I was like, oh yeah, playing along with it, and they were so good.
I
Like,
agree.
I think Silver Scream this year, it's got a really cool 25th anniversary vibe that kind of goes back to, Mazes of Scarowinds past. Like, you've got Camp Killowee, you've got Feeding Frenzy, you've got Alien Annihilation, which is one of the first Scarowinds mazes, and then there was, oh, the Clown Maze, of course, because we can't have a haunt without scary, creepy clowns. Last
Yeah.
Laugh 3D, which used to be in the old Action Theater. Like, that maze to me, it was a home run. I thought
Agreed.
it was the best maze. I mean, of the three that I went through
Yeah.
that night, and you know, always will love Slaughterhouse. It's consistently one of my favorites. Tooth Fairy, like you mentioned, is always consistently good. The mazes this year, I think there's not as much there's not as much of a gap between like the best maze and the worst maze as there's been in past years.
Absolutely agree. And I feel the same on Silver Scream. I love Silver Scream in previous years. I've always been like a classic Universal Monster kind of fan and, really got that feel from the old Silver Scream. But what they did to make it a 25th anniversary house and bring back like these nods to the past, it works. It works so well. And at first I was kind of like, well, why keep it Silver Screen? Like people are going to be like, oh, it's the same maze. But it really plays well. It does feel like you're going into these old kind of horror movies and walking through the horror movies. And I got the same vibe as you on Thursday and Friday. The characters inside those houses were fantastic. There were plentiful. I mean, two to three in almost every room that we went into. And they played off each other really well. And they're only going to get better. Like, this is week one. They're going to get better. You go in week 3 or 4, they're going to be absolutely killing it.
Yes. Okay. We've reached the point of the show. You've said the magic words, absolutely killing it. We got to talk about The Conjuring because that
Wow.
is an experience to me. I talked about leveling up. This is rungs and rungs on the ladder above the level that I'm used to at SCarowinds. And holy cow, they knocked this one out of the park.
You know, at the very beginning of our talk about SCarowinds, when we said they did 7 new areas, and we're glad they did that because of their charging this year, honestly, they could have just added Conjuring, and we would have sat here tonight saying, holy cow, the event is great because of Conjuring. Conjuring is unlike anything I have ever done.
Yeah.
I told you I'm a haunt fan. I've always gone to local haunted houses. I do every local haunt in the Carolinas. I do Scarowinds. Every year, my daughter and I go down to Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. We've done that for 7, 8 years now. I've been in so many different houses I cannot count, at this point. I've never experienced anything like Conjuring. And to say that Carowinds did that, now I know they did it in conjunction with the movie studio, but to say that's in Carowinds is amazing.
Yes.
Um, it is something truly unique, and this isn't just blowing hot air. Like it is an experience that you will not forget, and it's well worth the upcharge to go through it.
Yeah, we're talking like 15 or $20, whatever it is. And this, it's like, to me, I feel like it was best described as it's part maze, part escape room, and then part like mystery dinner, murder mystery dinner theater. Because like
Yes.
you're guided through each of these rooms by, a series of really well trained scare actors who have got their speakers on. And so they're running through a script. I thought the actors in that maze were fantastic. And I think they kind of rotate because I saw pictures from the night, and it's like, well, there was one actor in this scene, but then there was a different actor in the same scene, so they rotate kind of within the maze at the same time. So you probably won't have the same sequence of actors if you do it more than one time. But I thought all of the actors in this maze played their role really well. Like you start, I don't want to again. We're going to
Yeah.
get into the territory of like walking the line of spoilers, but you learn about what's happening here, and then you end up in the house, the um, all the things happening. People are, you've got to hold props. You've got to somebody's got to grab the Annabelle doll. My apologies to the scare actor who told me to grab the Annabelle doll. I walked right by it, did not touch it because I was like, is this what I'm supposed to grab? I'm not a fan of The Conjuring. I don't necessarily know what Annabelle is.
Oh,
Luckily, there was a guy in the group with me. So it's a group of about 10 people. They pulse you through every couple of minutes, but it's intimate. And it's like you're in this thing with the same group of people for 10 minutes and you're all playing a role and interacting and having different things to do within the maze. And like I just like you said, for this to be at Carowinds during the haunt season, I know it's at Cedar Point and it's at Kings Island, it's at Canada's Wonderland. Like how does this exist in a Legacy Cedar Fair, now
yeah.
Six Flags Park? It to me just it blows me away.
Well, this is where you get into the conversation about paying for houses. This would not exist if we were not in that era, right?
Hmm.
There is no way they would have added a house like this and just included it in the regular lineup, included with your ticket or your pass. It had to be an upcharge. And the reason for it is you'll see it from the moment you walk in. I am a fan of Conjuring. The reason why I started, going to haunted houses to begin with is I love horror movies. I grew up on horror movies. It's my favorite genre of movies. I love the Conjuring universe. And the moment you step in, you feel like you are in the Conjuring movies. The set pieces feel like what you would see in a movie. The costumes were built by the same people that put together the costumes for the movies, and it's seamless and really really like, well done the whole way through. So yeah, I mean, we're so lucky to have it, and we haven't even mentioned yet, it's a 20-minute long
Exactly,
experience.
20 minutes.
Like, and I'm not, it's not, we're not talking 20 minutes because you're in a 5-minute pre-show watching a movie. Like, it's 20 minutes while you're in, and you go around from, you're right. I don't really like hearing spoilers on things like this, so I won't give anything away. But you're not just walking through a house like you would normally. You're going room to room and stuff is happening, and you're spending time with the characters and letting it develop. And man, it just works so well. It works so well. And I'll tell you, I got the chance. I waited like you did. We were actually in the back of the line when you were close to the front of the line. So on Thursday night, when they had some technical issues and they did get them worked out, we waited quite a while for it. But I had a chance to go back Friday night, and I went first thing as soon as the park opened, and my repeat run through it was just as good as the first one.
Yeah,
Um, it was, I enjoyed it just as much, and actually saw a bunch of things that I didn't see the first time I went through it.
yeah. I and the two things that will always stand out to me about the first run through of this maze, one, well, other than the time, because 20 minutes, insane, absurd, love it. You're paying like $1 a minute, like it's worth it,
Yeah,
like
right.
totally worth it. One, you have to crawl at one point in this maze, like you have to get on your literal hands and knees and crawl. Doesn't that to me is a new concept for a haunt maze. Very crazy, very just like you want me to do what? You want me to get on my knee and knees crawl?
Now,
Okay,
Now, for those that can't, there is a way around. You're not forced to crawl, but
okay,
if you can experience it, you have that option. But just to not to scare anyone off, if you
okay.
can't crawl, if you're not physically able, there is a way around that
Good,
section.
good to know. I should have asked that question, but I was immersed in the story. The only other thing that was like, because I was in that line for a little bit longer than I typically would be, I got to hear the pre haunt spiel.
Some
Something along the lines of this is a high intensity thrill maze, blah blah, and it's like your boilerplate copy. They've got this at every other maze at Scarowinds, and it's this deep voice, and he goes, every other maze says this. It goes, "Don't touch the monsters. The monsters will not touch you."
Yep.
In this maze, it says, "Don't touch the spirits. The spirits may gently touch you." And it's like, I didn't necessarily feel like I was being touched by the scare actors or spirits, but the fact that it's there and it's an option is like, oh, we're messing with something completely different here.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, on Friday, I had a slightly different experience that I had on Thursday, and I will not give anything away, but I will just tell you that comment made in the queue line actually is true, and they do some stuff a little bit different in that house that you would not experience anywhere else.
Man, I got to get back. I got to get back. Got to do it. Oh my gosh. Any final thoughts on Scarowinds? Because I've got one further question to ask you. We've talked about coasters, we've talked about haunts. We got to talk about dark rides here for a second.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Scarowinds before we wrap this up?
Not really. I mean, we touched on everything. I would just say, I mean, if you love Halloween and you love scary stuff, and even if you've given up on kind of the theme park Scarewinds type experience, I would get back this year. I think it's really worth it. Um, highly recommend it. I think the park looks amazing, and what they've added just truly breathed new life in the experience. And I hope everyone gets a chance to get out there. And then, if you're not close or you can't get out there, Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides is going to bring every single minute of it to you on TikTok or YouTube or any of the other social media areas.
Hey, we love a shameless plug, but I agree. I agree with you. I think Scarowinds specifically has kind of reinvented themselves this fall season, and in previous years, not that I wasn't looking forward to going, but it was kind of like, is this going to be any different? This year, it's different, and it's different in the best way possible. So,
Yeah.
if you're local, try to get over there. If you're not local, I mean, we got some good stuff here in Charlotte. We got good barbecue. We got all sorts of other stuff to do. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have about 6 weeks at this point. So make some time. Get over here.
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Michael. Before I wrap this up, like I said, we've talked coasters. We've talked haunts. We got to talk dark rides. What's your favorite dark ride?
So, I absolutely, the name of my page is exactly what I love, right? Coasters, haunts, dark rides. I absolutely love dark rides, and the thing for me is I don't think there's a bad dark ride. I enjoy dark ride experiences, and there are two totally different types of dark rides, in my opinion. There is the Disney and Universal dark ride, the very expensive, very immersive type dark rides, and I love them. Like, I go down several times a year to Orlando and go to the Disney parks, go to Universal parks. uh, I'm wearing my Haunted Mansion hoodie right now. Haunted Mansion is my number one attraction. Dark ride, coaster, anything in a theme park, amusement park, Haunted Mansion's my number one attraction of all time. The room I'm sitting in, the man cave that I'm sitting in, is covered from floor to ceiling in Haunted Mansion, props, decor. I just absolutely love Haunted Mansion. But there's a lot in Disney and Universal, that in the dark ride area, that I just love. Tower of Terror, Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance. In Disneyland, you have the Pirates, the original Pirates of the Caribbean. Universal, absolutely love the Amazing Spider-Man. Just an incredible ride. So, like, for those big rides, that's probably, I love most of them, but that covers the really big ones. But then I love cheesy old dark rides. The ones that you find in seaside parks, the ones you find in amusement parks that have been around for 50, 60 years. And I would say, for anyone that's ever been to Pennsylvania and to Knoebels, the Haunted Mansion at Knoebels is exactly what I'm talking about. It's a ride that's been there for years, that they just continue to add props to, and just absolutely love it. I had the chance this year for CoasterCon 47 this year. We were in Six Flags Great America and then Indiana Beach. Had an opportunity to go to Indiana Beach, which is another one of those classic old amusement parks that has a number of dark rides and dark ride elements throughout. Just really like those kind of old classic, rides that feel like they shouldn't still be around. You're not even sure how they still run, but I could ride them all day long.
Man, we got to get back on. I think we've got a whole conversation about dark
Yeah.
rides that I feel like is that needs to be had. But
I,
while I'm here, I've got your favorites. I'm going to tell you mine because nobody asked, but I'm going to let you know. I love Men in Black Alien Attack. I think is my number one ride at Universal Studios Florida. I would put it maybe number one at the entire resort if Velocicoaster didn't exist. And I
yeah.
haven't been to Epic Universe yet, so that might change. But there were times when we would vacation in Orlando when we were kids, and my brother and I we would rope drop Men in Black. We stayed on site, and so we had the express pass, and we would just lap Men in Black like 4 or 5 times, like right when the park opened. And this was 10, 15 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm actually going to Epic Universe in a couple weeks. So I'm expecting once I get on Monsters Unchained there, I think my list is going to change because I've never been more excited for a ride than I am, or even a park, a land in Dark Universe.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Michael, like I mentioned at the top of the show, throughout the show, if you're on TikTok, Coasters Haunts Dark Rides. I think it's coasters.haunts.dark rides. However, they find you on TikTok, type those things in. You will find Michael. You'll find his content. Like I said, I enjoy it, so you probably will enjoy it too. But Michael, where can anybody else find you? And is there anything else you want to plug, be it your stuff, Ace stuff, anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just say for Ace, aceonline.org, check us out. If you're not familiar with Ace, we got a lot of information on the website. If you're listening to this podcast, I would be shocked if you wouldn't be interested in what Ace has to offer. So please check us out. And if you're ever in our area, check out Ace Southeast and come to one of our events. I would love to have you. For Coasters, Haunts, Dark Rides, TikTok is where we started. That's where I do a lot of my content, but I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, I am on YouTube. So I am on all of those different socials. And TikTok's probably my home and probably always will be my home. Well, as long as TikTok exists, it'll be my home. But I am on all those other socials, and Facebook and Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you ever need to reach out.
Perfect. Well, after you follow Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides, make sure you follow Coaster101 on all of the socials. We also have a website that we've hinted at a couple of times if you prefer your content to be more written word. Head to our store, c101.com/merch. It's on our site. I think that's the link. Some great Coaster 101 merch and theme park inspired merch. And if you're listening, make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, and doing all of the other podcast buzzwords so we can continue to, your reviews are what's keeping us going and what brings in great guests like Michael for us to talk to. Because no one wants to listen to me talk about SCarowinds. We need experts. We need people who are passionate. We need fans. We need great guests.
Yeah.
Because again, I know my voice. I'm kind of boring. It is what it is. But before we wrap this up, I want to send one special shout out to Justin Mabry of JM Entertainment Group. They keep changing their name, but they're responsible for our theme music. And Michael, before I go, one more time, can I get it from you this time? Can I get a Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides from you?
Coasters, Haunts, and Dark Rides. Welcome to Coaster 101, the best website on the internet.
Man, we're going to make this our podcast intro. I love it. Michael, thank you so much for your time, and we will have you again sometime soon. Maybe we'll talk Epic. Maybe we'll talk Dark Rides. Maybe we'll just keep talking. I don't know.
I would love to come on anytime. Thank you so much, and thank you for Coaster 101. You've been a huge part of my life for many, many years. I appreciate everything y'all do.
I appreciate that, Michael. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. We will talk to you again soon, and a ghost will follow you home.